Mitch Kupchak of the Charlotte Hornets has decided to step down as their GM. He will step into an advisor role. So the Hornets are now looking for a new GM. But what did I think about Mitch's reign with the Hornets? Well, first off, I have to say I never thought Mitch was a good GM to begin with originally because he was with the Lakers. And granted, the Lakers did have a lot of championships underneath him when he was their GM. I still didn't feel he was a good GM during his time with the Lakers because if you look at the first batch of rings he won was with the Kobe Shaq Lakers right after Jerry West stepped down, I believe after 2000 it was. So I didn't think he deserved credit for those remaining rings because he didn't build that team. And then later on, when you look at the championship rings that the Lakers won with Kobe and Gasol, I didn't think he deserved really much credit for that either because again, the Gasol trade to me was a gift from God from them. Essentially, it was like the equivalent of a corporate bailout. I don't think that was really a genius move, but that was a move that put them on the map. But I would say not genius in the sense that he didn't concoct it. It was just the Grizzlies gave it to him due to Jerry West's alleged influence on that trade since he was also an advisor to the Grizzlies around that time. So I didn't think he was really a remarkable GM, just a guy that was lucky during his Lakers reign. But I will say this, with the Hornets, I do believe he was a very solid GM. And I don't blame him for the current struggles of the Hornets, to be honest, but I look at some of the good moves he made when he stepped in as a GM. One of them was getting the Hornets not to re-sign Kemba Walker. I always felt Kemba was a very overrated player, that the fans loved him, but I never felt he was a legit franchise player or even a legit all-star. To me, he was really a fringe all-star player, but not a guy you can build a team around. He's only like 5'10". You really can't build a consistent winner with a guy that small. It's very rare. It's very rare that happens. And the Hornets were not cutting the mustard with Kemba. They were always at best a 7th or 8th seed that couldn't get out of round one. And I felt that they had reached their ceiling with him. And that to me was a great move by Mitch to get rid of him. He also made a move I guess people now would say was a bad move, obviously, was on draft night way back, I think, a few years back, whenever Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was in the draft, he originally drafted him and then traded him to the Los Angeles Clippers for Miles Bridges. So at the time, that seemed like a good move, but obviously Shai has become a superstar player, so you can get him for that. That was kind of probably his worst move, I would say, as GM. But the other moves, I would say, other drafts he had were pretty good. He drafted LaMelo Ball a few years ago, back in the 2020 draft. I think that was a really great pick. LaMelo turned out to be Rookie of the Year. Now, Tyrese Halliburton, I would say, is ahead of LaMelo right now, just when you look at him. But I think it's still very close with both of them. And LaMelo, if he can get healthy, he could challenge Tyrese Halliburton for being one of the best players in that draft. He's up there. Obviously, the only guy I would say is better than LaMelo from that draft was Anthony Edwards, but he was the number one pick, so you can't blame Mitch for not being able to get him. And Tyrese, I feel it's kind of neck and neck. Granted, like right now, Tyrese is ahead of LaMelo because of what he's doing, but if LaMelo can get healthy, I think he can challenge Tyrese Halliburton for who will become the better player out of those two. I think both are still very young, and it's still a lot of time left in their careers before we can say which one is officially better than the other. But like I said, that pick of LaMelo was a very good pick because I didn't really think LaMelo was going to amount to much. I really thought he was overhyped like his older brother Lonzo, but obviously I was grossly wrong about that. So Mitch deserves credit for that move. And he had some other solid moves after that. So I thought he was a very solid GM. He didn't do anything ridiculous. And he also drafted Brandon Miller this year, which I think is going to turn out to be another great move. I think Brandon Miller will be an NBA All-Star player within a few years. And outside of that, he does have superstar potential from what I've seen. So he was a very solid to, I would say, above average GM for the Hornets. I know people look at their record last 2 years and blame him for that, but I think he was very unlucky. When you look at the Hornets record 2 years ago, I believe they had won 43 games, and it looked like they were starting to turn the corner and become a legit playoff contender. They didn't make it to the playoffs because they couldn't win the play-in situation, but they were on the verge of building something special, I felt, 2 years ago. And then the last 2 seasons, they've had a lot of stuff that's been out of their control, with LaMelo getting hurt these last 2 years and missing a lot of games. That screwed up their record. And last year, obviously, Miles Bridges basically being suspended for all of last year for what happened with his wife in that domestic abuse situation. So those things really sank them the last 2 years. I felt it was just really extremely bad luck. And obviously this year, including these last 2 years, it's just been injuries all around. But I think the Hornets still have a good future ahead of them if LaMelo can just stay healthy. And I would say Brandon Miller, I think he's going to be a special player. I don't know if Miles Bridges is in their future. He's a free agent. They could possibly let him walk this offseason, but they have some pieces to build thanks to Mitch, I would say, and they just have to hope they're healthy. I think if they're healthy, they can be a 500 team, and beyond that, we'll see who they draft. But if you're a Hornets fan, I don't think you can be upset at Mitch. He at least didn't damage your franchise, and he put them in a position to be solid. And now, hopefully, the Hornets get a good GM, and that GM can take them to the next level and being a consistent playoff team, possibly getting out of the first round, since the Hornets haven't done that in a very long time. Last time they did that was way back in, trying to remember. Yeah, it was 2002. So it's been 22 years. So hopefully they can at least get a little bit of playoff success with the new GM, but we'll see. And yep, that's what I'd say about this.